2026, brand new year. And my focus for the year is going to be reclaim, right? That's the word that I've chosen. And so I'm sitting here on my little deck and I'm thinking about one of the topics that's come up for me in the last year. Other people have brought it up to me. Your authentic self. How do you reclaim your authentic self in the workplace? That's hard, especially as a person of color, especially as a woman. I know for myself, when I first started, I felt very much like I had to go in and be one of the guys. I had to go along to get along, so to speak. And so my authentic self, no, that didn't exist, because who I actually was, how I grew up, how I lived my life didn't align with a lot of the things that were around me, especially when I first started in the corporate world. It was an engineering company. So a lot of engineers, a lot of PhDs. I don't have a degree. And that always felt really awkward and uncomfortable. So being my authentic self, I didn't. I wasn't my authentic self for a really long time in the workplace. So reclaiming our authentic self in the workplace, it's not a one-stop shop. You're not gonna do one thing and then you're done. There are so many layers, and it doesn't just depend on us as individuals to bring our authentic selves. Just like it when we're told, you should bring your authentic self to work. Yeah, you've got to make the environment welcoming for that first. So it's important to know that opening up, sharing bits and pieces here and there, letting other people know, hey, your perspective is not the only perspective. Gently, right? Gently, kindly. We always lead from kindness. At the same time, we also stand firm in who we are. I think that's part of the reclamation, is this is who I am, and I'm not going to hide it or apologize for it. I'm not going to shame anybody else for who they are or what they believe or what they feel or anything like that. I would never do that. This is who I am, though, and this is my experience, and I'd like you to understand and create a safe place, like you said you would in your corporate policies, and right? Let's actually do the work, walk the walk, not just talk the talk. But that's the journey we're on this year, to reclaim, and start with reclaiming our authentic self in the workplace. A big part of being able to bring your authentic self is having an environment that truly allows you to be your authentic self. A lot of companies say that they do, but then there are situations like that conversation that I have been there in those conference rooms where people are talking about things that I cannot relate to whatsoever. And then they're like, why are you so quiet, Anjali? And I'm like, oh, just listening. I literally have nothing to add to this conversation. So, and I'm not saying, if you have a trip, or if you have a great fraternity or sorority you're part of, I'm not saying don't talk about it, right? You don't have to keep those things top secret or hide them from anybody. However, it's a plane going over. So you don't have to hide those things from anybody, because then you're not being your authentic self, right? But to create an environment, which is necessary, understand that not everybody around you has the same experiences, and just open your mind up to that possibility that somebody who's literally sitting right next to you may not have been able to eat for the last couple days and may not know where they're going to live tomorrow. Yeah, that happens, even in a corporate environment. Even somebody with a full-time job can be on the verge of homelessness, because that's how I felt I was. I won't say that I was, but it was looking pretty bleak. I couldn't afford application fees. I had a shit credit score. I didn't have food to eat. I just came down for the job, and like my ambition and my drive took over the rest, but I had nothing to my name. Yeah, when I first moved to the DC area, I had nothing. I, yeah, like nothing is not even like the descriptor. I was lucky enough to be able to stay in the company's corporate apartment while I looked for a place. Looking for a place to live was terrifying. There were some days where I would go look at an apartment and they'd be like, okay, now pay the application fee. It's $30. And I'm like, oh, I have to pay that now? Because no joke, at that time, I didn't even have $30 in my bank account. And it was embarrassing, right? And there were times where I didn't know what I was going to eat that day, and thank goodness for Office Bagel Day. Some days those were the days the only days that I had, food. And people don't realize that your coworkers, especially those who are young, who've just moved here from, someplace else, maybe they might even just be missing their family or missing their normal lifestyle. But some of us might actually be struggling. I was struggling. And it was scary. I did eventually find a place. I found a wonderful apartment with a wonderful landlord who accepted me as I was with my bad credit score and no savings. And nothing. I cried her a sob story, and I guess I touched her heart. So I did find a place to live. But I think a lot of us take for granted when you're in the conference room and your coworkers start talking about, oh yeah, I'm going on vacation next week. We're going to do a cruise to like several European countries. What about you, Anatolia? And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to eat for the next few days. So we are not on the same playing field, my friend.